So it's Sunday afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Wild Fed Family. Now, one of my chores this afternoon is to go down and clean the chicken coop, and I got to thinking there's a couple changes that I have made in the recent months that has blown up my egg production. So I want to show you what I've done to make sure that my chickens are laying the most eggs as they possibly can, and it is absolutely filling up our egg basket. So let me show you what I did. So right behind me is my chicken coop, and I have roughly 20 to 30 chickens. They are too fast to count, and one of the things that I noticed was there was too many chickens for that coop. So I decided to go ahead and spread them out a little bit, and this is how I did it. Now the coop space isn't the problem. The problem is this 16 by 16 pen, and for 25 chickens, that's just not a lot of room. This is an 8 by 4 coop, and it's perfect for them to sleep in and lay their eggs. But during the day, they need to be out and about and roaming around because one, that reduces stress big time on those chickens. The way that I made that happen was by building this ramp on the outside and adding a small roll-up door to the exterior of the coop that is run by a photocell sensor. So every morning when the sun rises, that door opens up, the chickens come out, they roam around and just kind of scratch around the woods, the grass, get all of the bugs and good stuff that is out there in the wild for them. And then when the sun starts to set, they go back in the coop and they have a safe place to sleep. So by doing that, I've done two things. One of which I touched on, and that was the stress, and it takes them out of a cramped area and gives them free roam, and it makes for a happy chicken. The second thing that it does is it provides them with a greater source of nutrition. Now, when they're scratching out there, they're getting bugs, which increases their protein intake. And that protein intake is absolutely essential for egg production because eggs are slap full of protein. So what goes in the chicken must come out, and yeah, what you're eating is leftover bug protein, but it makes for a really good egg. So another thing that I've done is add extra calcium to their diet, and this is an easy thing to do. Now, you can spend a ton of money on calcium supplements and feed, or you can dump in some crushed oyster shell. And what this does is, as they digest it, chickens, birds, upland birds, whatever, they will naturally ingest rocks, stones, small pebbles, stuff like that, and it gets stuck in the gizzard. And as the grains go through their digestive system, it gets held up in that gizzard, and it helps break that down. It's just a extra sandpaper type material to help them digest their food. So as that's breaking down, so are the oyster shells, and they are consuming the calcium that gets dissolved in their gizzard. Now, calcium is what eggs are mainly made up of, so it is extremely important. If there's a calcium deficiency, your chickens are not going to have that extra calcium in their system to produce eggs. So make sure your chickens have plenty of calcium. Oyster shells is the way that I do it, and it works great for me. So the fourth, fifth thing, I don't know, I lost track, that I did was making sure that they have a clean coop. Now, if you're living in your own filth, you're not going to be a very happy person. You're not going to be a productive person. When you have a little bit of order to your life, it goes a long way. So if you keep the coop clean, they will definitely be more comfortable, less stressed out, and make sure that they're laying eggs for you. So what I use is just fine pine shavings from Tractor Supply. It's like $6 a block, and it takes 1 block to refresh that. Now, all of that does not go to waste. They poop a bunch in that coop, and I end up cleaning it out, taking it to the garden, and chicken manure is super rich in nitrogen, which is great for leafy greens, brassicas, which includes everything from cabbage, broccoli, collard greens, stuff like that, to corn. Corn loves chicken manure, so save it, don't throw it out. Another thing that chickens need a lot of is water, because there's a bunch of water in eggs. So if they're going to produce eggs, they need to have the water to fill them. So right here is the watering system that I have. There's a 5-gallon bucket hooked to some vinyl tubing, go into a PVC pipe with a bunch of nipples on the bottom of it. So the chickens always have access to water 100% of the time. And I actually have a video on how I made that, and I'm going to put it on the end screen of this. But there's an additive that you can add to this water that most people have in their kitchen. That's apple cider vinegar. So for every gallon of water, you can put 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. It's really good for their digestive system. It's a essentially sort of like an antibiotic, and kind of clears them out, cleans them out. And just like us, you know, vinegar is great for our digestive system. It's going to be great for your chickens as well. Here's another tip. So you see hen, that's a young rooster, old rooster, hen. Now, if you're keeping your hen to rooster ratio correct, that rooster needs at least 10 hens, you know, per bird. But what that's doing is they're not overbreeding. Now, you want to keep your roosters around, because what that does is it initiates that natural reproductive cycle. And if you're collecting your eggs every day, you're not going to have to worry about super fertilized eggs when you crack them in a bowl. That's just one benefit to having a proper rooster to hen ratio. And a lot of these chickens are born here on our little farm, and I just let a broody hen sit on them in the spring. But you never know what you're going to get, and as they get older, I do end up eating the roosters. Although that's kind of frowned upon in the culinary world and the egg laying and small homestead world, there's nothing to worry about. Half of the chickens that you eat from the grocery store are Cornish crosses. They are not sexed, and half of them are roosters, half of them are hens, and you wouldn't know the difference other than the size of that chicken. But if you have a really old rooster, I suggest roasting him at a high temperature, get him nice crispy and browned up, and then braise them in a pot and turn them into rooster noodle soup. Another thing that a lot of people make a huge deal about is the amount of sunlight. Now, as that sunlight starts to reduce, the chickens are going to stop laying as much. Now, they need around 14 to 16 hours of sunlight in order to reach their prime egg production. But with the supplemental stuff of everything that I just explained to you, I don't really think it's necessary to put a light in the coop to extend that lighted time, especially during the winter, because we're in February right now and we're getting plenty of eggs for a family of 4 to eat. And it's an absolute pain to run an extension cord down here, because it's probably 150 yards from my house to the chicken coop. And yeah, I don't want to spend that power bill or have an extension cord that I have to pick up every time I cut the grass. One last thing I want to talk to you about is the chicken feed. Now, I use a 50-50 mix of scratch grains and pelletized chicken feed with a calcium supplement in it as well. Now, I don't like feeding 100% just processed pelletized chicken feed, because one, I mean, you really don't know what is in it totally, and two, it's better for them to just have whole grains, and then whatever they're missing out of their feed, they can go find, since they are free range. You know, I keep saying I got one last tip, but I keep remembering stuff while I'm down here working on this. So let me show you the very last one. Now, right here are 2 eggs that I picked out before I cleaned the coop, but I have a clean coop now. So what I'm gonna do is pop this door open right here, and right here in this corner is where the hens like to lay a lot. So I'm gonna leave 2 eggs right there, shut this door, and that's going to go ahead and trigger their natural instinct to keep laying on those eggs, just like keeping roosters around. But the bottom line is, if you're getting 6 eggs a day, go ahead and pull 4 eggs a day and then leave 2. If you feel like marking them, then mark them, but it really doesn't matter. Eggs are good for a really long time, especially in a well-maintained coop, and if you're keeping track of which ones you're pulling. So don't ever take away all of the eggs, leave a couple, and it's just a little bit of inspiration for your hens. Or you can order fake eggs off of Amazon or use golf balls. It works too. Also, chickens molt every year, which means they essentially shed their feathers and regrow new ones. So that's going to be a major stressor. So if you follow the following tips, it will definitely help reduce the stress of your birds. The last thing that I want to talk about, and it's probably an unpopular opinion, is get rid of the chickens with bad habits. Now, if I got one that is going up to the garden and eating on my cabbage, Brussels sprouts, whatever it may be, I'm going to take that chicken out, because I don't want that chicken to go ahead and teach the rest of the flock those bad habits. Now, frustration is a major thing for me and a lot of chicken owners that end up getting them out of raising chickens. And what's up, baby? Anyway, keep your frustration levels to a minimum. Get rid of the bad hens, roosters, whatever it may be, because you want this experience to be enjoyable and not a stressor on you. So that's all I got. It looks like I got some dogs to play some fetch with, and I will see you on the next video.